Hey y'all, it's Mary.
I'm Carla.
And we're the Smiley Twins. And today we are going to talk about who and when to hire in your med spa. I think Carla will talk about some hiring practices, best hiring practices, and then we're just going to kind of talk about when we hired an employee versus 1099, esthetician, injector, all those types of things. As it relates to your med spa business.
Yeah, I think it's who to hire and then when, obviously, most importantly. That's probably one of the questions we get pretty often is like, I'm a, independent, I'm the CEO and main injector, but I can no longer do all of the things for my business for it to continue to grow. So I can either stagnate or outsource, which is an option, or hire. So those are kind of the three things. And there's nothing wrong with any of the three of those. I think that's important to
it's probably largely based on budget in the beginning, like social media, for example, hiring out someone to manage and run your social media, or any marketing. So it's other things besides just the clinical side of it. But I think the first thing maybe some of us tend to hire is, I think social media comes somewhere in the top, and then a second provider or another provider or complement provider like an esthetician if you're an injector, and then there's Daisy. A very common question that we get is, how do I hire? How do I add someone? What's the best structure and what's the best method? We won't get too much into the weeds on that one, but that's just kind of the 1099 versus the W-2 versus, some other way. So
yeah, so if we dive into like, okay, I'm either gonna stagnate, outsource, or hire. Let's talk about stagnating, and that carries a negative connotation a lot of times in business, but it's a actual it's a strategy. You may be, depending on...
You mean like a grow where you're planted kind of thing?
No, stagnate isn't like I can't grow any further. I will go off revenue. I make $10,000 a month. I can't grow or make any more revenue without either outsourcing or hiring. So I'm choosing to stagnate. I'm choosing to stay flat, whatever you want to call it. And like I said, a lot of times that can be seen as a negative because everyone always thinks about business and grow and get bigger and bigger and make more money. But that may not be what somebody wants. You may be a CEO, main injector of your own little LLC situation or your own little space, and you come in every day, 8 hours a day, and you fill them up and you do all the things, and you are just tickled to death. You don't have to hire somebody. You don't have to grow.
I think that's taking a look back at what your goals were, maybe your goals are. Of course, goals can change, but there's no need, if someone's telling you, well, if you're filled up, like she said, 80-90%, then you should definitely hire somebody else. Maybe that's not what your whole plan was anyway. And I think
I just think we ignore that.
Get in the grind of growth, like you said.
Well, every single thing you see out there is all about how to grow. And I think everyone often ignores just the fact that someone might be happy exactly where they are.
Or reinvesting into the clients you already have, or maybe looking to see where your current clients, you can just simply grow there. And
can I be more efficient in the 8 hours I'm there and therefore make more money that way? Or maybe I'm really just happy making
what you're making,
$100,000 a year. And great, cool, go you. So anyway, or maybe I want to cut down on so the next step is like I don't necessarily want to hire a person, but I want to figure out how to make either more money in that 8 hours or cut that 8 hours down a day. So if you're doing it all, then you're doing your advertising, you're doing probably your bookkeeping, maybe. A lot of us do outsource that, which makes sense. You're just doing it all. So without hiring somebody else, you might just start outsourcing. So it's kind of the second layer of, you either want to outsource so that you can see more clients and make more money in that 8 hours, or you might want to bring 40 hours a week, just working off that example, down to 30. Because you want more freedom. So again, not ignoring the fact that not everybody wants to grow and get bigger and make more money. They may want to
be more efficient.
Therefore working less and making the same amount of money, whatever that money is that you decided. So
that's a good example of for social media, we have brought ours in-house full-time currently, but we used Fiverr in the very beginning. It was a really good place to find people specific to the industry and who could do social media posts and schedule out some social media posts for not an exorbitant amount of money, or at least take away some of that stuff. A lot of them were kind of stagnant, and a lot of them they're not reels or anything like that. But if you want a stagnant post a day or one every other day, at least that cuts down having to make those graphics and having to do that. So
I think we could definitely dive into some of the things you can outsource and maybe some of the things we've learned and what we have outsourced and what we would and would not do. And then the third thing obviously is hiring somebody. And whatever model that looks like, whether you're hiring them as an actual employee, which is
What was the second thing? Is it
in-
outsourcing?
you
Just
stagnate, you outsource,
just being
or you
fine.
hire. Yeah.
Outsourcing, yeah.
And then hiring them as an employee, a 1099. There's other ways to outsource things. You can trade services in different ways. So there's all kinds of ways to garner help without necessarily hiring. But if we're talking about hiring, we're talking about bringing them on as a W-2 or as a contractor.
Yeah, and I want to go ahead and say be mindful trading services. And this is not legal advice, but be mindful of when it's practicing medicine versus when it's not, and being allowed to trade services when you're practicing medicine versus when you're not, and what's allowed and what's not allowed. I'm not going to go into that, but just a little plug in for compliance.
Yeah. So take bartering out of it in that regard. Although there are things you can
certainly, for sure.
You
I'm
certainly
just
can
saying,
do, but it is a sticky.
It's not a free for all of
Sure.
like I'll give you Botox for this, and every state, and it depends on a lot of things, state, degree level, are you are not practicing medicine, those types of things.
Yeah.
You said something a second ago about the So we're going to go back to start with the stagnant.
Yeah. I mean, that one kind of speaks for itself. It's like you've reached a point of where you can't make any more money in the time that you are willing to give to your business.
Right. I do have a little plug though for that on like clinically, efficiently, and a lot of us start out with our Botox and appointments at 45 minutes or whatever it is, sometimes 30, and probably find ourselves rushed in the very beginning. But I think there's some industry standard goals for getting those appointment times down lower. So I think a good goal for a Botox appointment, and it does depend on you as a provider. So give yourself 5 or 10 minutes of wiggle room. If you love sitting and chatting with your client, every single client or whatever, then cool. That's a little different. But a 15-minute appointment for Botox should be a really good goal. And that really could, a new client, you could maybe do a 20 or 25. But if you find that you've forgotten that you've left every client booked at 45 minutes for new Botox or whatever, and that's one way. Cut it down to 30. Try cutting it down to 20 if your scheduling will allow, and see if you can't fit in some more clients that way as a way to not hire anybody or not, but just get more appointments in your day and use your time more efficiently. And the same with any appointment that you're doing. Do you find yourself in between appointments with 10 or 15 minutes? If so, maybe seeing where you can.
Yeah, and I think that's an important note that just because you Daisy come, just because you don't want necessarily to grow, or that doesn't mean you don't. I don't think I would find somebody, you might, who says, oh, I wouldn't like to make more money working the exact same amount of time.
Right.
So
or less. To your point.
Or less. So I would agree with what Mary's saying on some efficiencies you can find within your own practice that can certainly help. And if you're not using an automated like EMR system where they book their appointment automatically, like we use Aesthetic Record, and we love it because they book their appointment, the paperwork comes to them, it does deposits, it does all the things, so they show up pretty much ready to go, and they should have everything filled out, and then you
review it with them, which goes a lot quicker.
Yeah, of course, and the consents and stuff, and you get your informed consent at that point. But then you're doing pictures and whatever it is else that you need to do, and it's very efficient. And you said something about if you like to talk to your clients. When we first started, we were very big on that. We had I talked to all of them, mainly because they were like my neighbors. These are like kind of people I knew. But even after like the second or third time, there's only so much you can talk about every 3 or 4 months with somebody that's the only time you see them. Like,
yeah, true.
We're not digging into like relationships with your sister or anything like that for the most part.
Yeah, it's pretty. You don't see them often enough unless you're getting multiple treatments and stuff. Then
well,
of course.
It just gets pretty stagnant anyway.
Right. Well, and if you're getting multiple treatments, like a RF microneedling, you got time to chat with them while you're microneedling their face versus like some of these
Botox,
other appointments or whatever.
And I think it's important too for the new ones out there to kind of set the standard. You want to get to know them. Don't get me wrong. So brand new client, but then you kind of set that standard a little bit. Like I would start the appointments with like, I've got time. My next client's not for 15 more minutes. And for that makes them feel like, but they're also like 15 minutes. That's not that much time. Like,
yeah,
so
but
there's things you can do.
I think it's filling out each client for sure, and then it's very easy to tell what type of client. Some people want to pop in and pop out, and they want a 5-minute Botox appointment, which is great. Oh, let's real quick, a little suggestions. I'm not huge on pre-drawing up Botox and stuff. However, if you have a busy day or like a Botox party, pre-draw up those, you have clients that have paid deposits and they're on the books or whatever, pre-drawing
especially
up.
repeat.
Yeah, pre-drawing up some syringes of Botox to help especially repeat. And I'm just saying the standard syringes. I'm not saying trying to gauge any amount for any client, just standard 12 units, drawing up a few of those that you'll utilize throughout the day, and keeping them in the fridge, of course, and keeping them clean and stuff. So if you don't utilize them, you could still utilize them the next day or whatever. And having those on hand can be really helpful to cut down another little tip, especially for Botox parties, being mindful of keeping them cold. And then syringes push out very easily, so keep those suckers safe so you don't lose Botox.
On that note, with your lidocaine, same thing for like lips or anything you're doing. We would just have it out and ready to go on the Q-tip, and it almost triggers you. As soon as they sat down, you had to kind of hold it. It's like, yeah, it's so good to see you too. And you're literally putting it on their lip. They can still talk to you, but you will get to talking to somebody, and 10 minutes will go by, and you haven't even put the on
That's
your
such a great tip, and it happens, I think, so often in the beginning. You're so nervous or whatever. I'm like chasing my client through the Medspa with the numbing stuff, and be mindful of that. If you tend to have them come in and sit down and sign in and all that
and
stuff.
Like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm like, great, let's put this on real quick.
Let's numb this on real quick. Yeah, obviously filling out your client, but like doing that stuff can really shaves off some time. So that's kind of
some tips of doing that.
Yeah, like the stagnant, I guess what you're saying, like not outsourcing and not hiring anybody, just being more efficient. Little tips in your clinic. I'm sure there's more, but
Well, we talked about automated. Outsourcing doesn't necessarily include outsourcing to another person. I mean, there's all kinds of technology, and that is outsourcing, but the aesthetic record, by example, doing all of those types of things, that's charting, that's efficiency in charting.
Social pilot, so social media, you could do it yourself and use, our marketing director currently uses Social Pilot to schedule out content for the entire month, and you can do that yourself on a, whatever, get in there an hour early. I don't know how long it takes, probably a decent amount of time, but still.
We'll block off one day a month to do the content.
Yeah, to do the content for the following. So, and then, just a little tip, be organized with that stuff. Keep it in a folder so that 4 months from now you can start reusing it.
Absolutely.
That's a really good idea. You can edit some of the stuff, and people aren't scrolling that far back into your social medias, trust me. Reusing content is a really good tip.
I think Social Pilot keeps all that stuff too. I mean, there's data plans associated with it, but it's really expensive. So you can go back in Social Pilot 4 months and just duplicate the post. So that Daisy girl, she's so sweet. That can definitely help, obviously, with marketing and advertising, because as we've said many times, social media is the key, core, king, queen, all the things with aesthetics and marketing. So. You really can. If someone asks me what's one thing I can do for marketing, I tell all our injectors, have you posted today? Have you posted today?
Have you friended 100 people today, or as many as Facebook will allow you to friend?
Yeah.
And
you're a sweet girl.
You're not my.
So that's a good example. It's not outsourcing because you're doing it yourself. You're just utilizing technology in your favor. I mean, some basic things like scheduling emails. So Gmail will let you schedule emails. So if you have a client list or you have set up, be careful just taking client emails out of an EMR, by example, if that's the way you gather them. But if you have a website that's capturing them, a simple pop-up on you want to follow me or whatever, however you do that. If you're just an individual injector and you just want to, at the end of the be like, hey, do you mind if I have your email? I send out a newsletter. You can schedule that out. You can schedule a survey to go out from your aesthetic record. So there's so many things you can do within your business that are automated that aren't even outsourcing. They're just collecting data for you, and then obviously how you utilize that data is another piece of it. But we've said many times, if it's just you, then you've got to have an admin day. When you're just getting started, your admin day should be pretty much social media and advertising.
All the things that we just kind of mentioned.
And then when you get fuller, you can start doing things like making sure you check back in with the clients, especially when you're a new injector, more periodically than a 2-week follow-up. Like, hey, just wanted to make sure it's been 3 or 4 days since your Botox, that everything went fine. We followed up with everybody in the beginning a couple of days after just to say, hey, put them back in the top of mind, put you back in the top of mind, especially if you had a good experience. And that's also for reviews, because that's a huge piece of thing. But we're not really going down.
Right. And then what you just said about scheduling an admin day, that's really important, because I think we feel like when we're new that if we don't have every waking moment of our calendar open, then a client is somehow their 15-minute appointment on a Thursday afternoon at 3:30 is not available. Well, then I'm just not going to schedule, and that's just not true.
Yeah.
So blocking off maybe a half day in the beginning, but a full day. those clients will book on other days. Like
Yeah.
it is okay. People are typically in the aesthetic industry willing to wait around 2 weeks for their appointment. And so it's not, let's not get too up in a tizzy over
Yeah.
thinking your schedule has to be wide open all the time.
And you also need to have that. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say one more thing. And then it's like, well, if I open it, I don't have very many clients, so I'll just keep all the days open. And then if I have one client on my admin
That's
day,
what I was
it's
gonna say
okay.
too.
That one client will interrupt your flow, your workflow, and all that stuff. And that can be a game changer in what you're doing and getting stuff done. Just block off the half
Yeah.
days, maybe starting out and the full day later when you get busier.
It's certainly our opinion. I would even argue the full day starting out, because there's so much you need to be doing even starting out that you should be doing, that it would take a full day, whether that's content. We always talk about posting once
That's
a
a
day,
learning
post 3
curve,
times
too.
a day.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to do it. You got to get your account set up. There's a million things you need to be doing. And then that also allows, you'll be shocked how many people I'll just book the same time and same day 3 months from now. If you allow them to wiggle into different places, you're going to end up behind.
Your admin day is never going to work
Your
out.
admin days is not going to work out, and 4 days a week is plenty for a new injector.
Yeah.
So till you have those full, up to at least 80% or so, if you have a full admin day open, you could probably go up to that 90%. Make sure you eat and things like that, but you can really control your calendar by
Speaking of my
blocking.
sushi sitting and staring at me.
Yeah. You can control some of those things. So setting those foundational things for later really help if you're going to stay kind of solo.
Yeah.
Okay, so next you have outsourcing. So we'll talk about some of the things we did for outsourcing. Let's talk about marketing. I get so...
Well, I don't really want you to go
upset
down
about
this. We can have a whole episode on
No,
marketing and our experiences, and we
I
really
know,
can.
We were going to talk about the things you can outsource and give just like some like...
We could literally leave it at marketing and then maybe talk about like Fiverr and then...
Well, I was just... Okay.
She wants to dive into all the marketing
do not
companies that
wanna
we've
dive
used
in.
and disliked, which
I
is
don't
pretty
wanna
much
dive
100%.
into all of them. I just want to make a statement that when you go to outsource marketing, be aware of all of the digital marketing companies that are popping up like friggin' daisies, and they are all very similar, and they all offer a lot of things like 30 clients in 30 days guaranteed, and a lot of that is leads, which are...
And they'll post once a day, and it's curated directly to your needs, and it's like
not.
it's all the same Medspa,
static stock photos,
stuff, and
iStock.com.
Yeah, so we have not, there was nothing, I don't think there was much we liked about it. They'll talk about, they'll do SEO for you, but you have no way to really monitor the SEO.
Like, what are you doing in the background?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff that's happening for $5,000 a month that because you don't know, because I still don't know SEO, and I've been reading a book that's 1,000 pages long. And it's like, and I'm nowhere near to even having an idea of what's going on. And so to be able to do a quality check on my SEO person is like, it's really hard. Now, we currently do use an SEO manager, but if you're not, to one of our mentors' points, if you're not spending $5,000 a month on just an SEO company, you're probably not you're probably wasting your money.
Yeah.
I mean, they're that expensive because it's just an unknown world to us lay people.
Yeah.
But we get monthly reports from them, we have monthly meetings from them, we actually literally see our metrics and all these different things increasing, and so we feel like we have a pretty good grip on it.
There's things you can do. I mean, we're not going to get into it, but you can Google SEO and see, blogs and reviews and web pages and stuff. There's things you can do yourself to get that stuff started.
Well, you can learn it yourself.
With that, I mean, I don't want to offend anybody who probably spends their life doing it, because I do think there's an entire art to it, and there's a lot of technical stuff that would be difficult. Oh,
I'm an art.
Reading the book is like 1,000 pages.
Yeah, but that's, so far it's not, that's
It also changes frequently. The point is, be careful with the marketing companies out there. You're going to get ads galore.
And the amount I get 7 DMs a day of, do you do lip filler? Yes, I do.
Do you want 30 new clients tomorrow?
Do you have openings in your calendar? And
You're
I'm like,
failing.
Yeah.
You should get marketing help.
Which you'll learn very quickly as soon as you put one Medspa post out. Okay, so marketing. Sorry, clearing my throat. I do believe I think the Fiverr thing, if you want to cut down on your needing to make your own content, like, okay, so I want a static post every day or whatever, you can get that for like $200 or $300. They look pretty, they're done probably on Canva, I'm sure, by the person, which is an art in of itself, and that takes up a post every couple of days. Sure, that takes a little load off on your plate, but the content creation and reels and stuff of yourself, and that's just like, you gotta do it, because hiring someone to come and do that for you, now you're talking about thousands of dollars a day, and that's just not really feasible for anybody. And quite frankly, now that I've gotten into it, it's actually fun. Like, after this, I look forward to making some reels with some of my people, and it's fun and silly, and or make them serious and educational, whatever your platform you want it to look like. But so outsourcing with Fiverr, and then we outsourced our website design. You can do pretty simple website on GoDaddy and Wix, and WordPress is a little bit more challenging, I think, to do by yourself, but you can get those done yourself. Very simple, clean websites that'll function great for you in the beginning.
Takes a learning curve.
Yeah, for free. Dedicate a little time to do it. Fiverr, once again, you can do it very inexpensively and do it pretty well for Fiverr. When you start getting more complicated and you want moving images and all that stuff, that's where we outsource to a company, a local company.
Do be careful, because these people are charging upwards of $150 an hour or whatever for what you're asking them to do. And again, it's one of those things, if you don't know what you don't know how how long it takes to maybe do something.
Right.
So
meanwhile, on Fiverr, you can get somebody in Bangladesh for $20 an hour who is brilliant with WordPress and brilliant. So Fiverr is Fiverr is a really great resource.
For that tech stuff you need. It's for like the digital stuff.
You're protected contractually. You don't pay till you're happy. It's a really good. Don't get off Fiverr. It's like
pay
stay
cash.
on Fiverr. And stuff. And so Fiverr's a really great way for technical stuff.
For the digital and technical stuff. Like we got our logo off Fiverr. Like a lot of things. You can put your project out there and people basically bid on it.
Yeah.
And from
very
all over
easy
the world.
to use.
Yeah.
We have a DM or message. I have a referral code that I think gets some money credit into. I'm sure we get something. I can't remember, but it'll give a $20 credit or something, which $20
goes a long way.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of like website and social media and stuff, which is super important. Of course, you have made your Facebook page and you're trying to get reviews. So let's talk about a VA. We outsourced a little bit recently with a virtual assistant. We use a company called she'sagiven.com, who's lovely. We know the owner, Emily Givens. She's fantastic. And she does American-based VAs who typically have some 3 years of experience as an EA, which is
executive assistant.
They are based in America, and then they typically she'll try to pair you with somebody who has experience in your field
area,
in some form or fashion, which can be super helpful, especially in like medicine or aesthetics. So what can you outsource to a VA? A lot. Every meeting you need to make, and when you're a nurse, like my sister cracks me up. She doesn't even I got it. Sorry. She doesn't even check like an email, Katie. She didn't even have like a computer for the longest. She never checks an email. Her email rarely. She just when you're in the hospital, I think you can easily fall into.
Oh yeah, gosh, I didn't either.
You can easily fall because it's just junk. You fall into there's not meetings with vendors. There's not a dinner you need to go to. There's not
Zoom meetings to create on a calendar.
There's not Zoom meeting. Exactly, a Zoom meeting to create with somebody. There's not, I don't know, a million things. You're meeting with your medical director that you have to have, and just all kinds of things like that. So as you get busier, you quickly just making a Zoom is like, shoot me now. Just that 5 minutes just kills me. It's that. She does also other things. She made my grooming appointment for Daisy. She
does our EMR, and she opens calendars for, if I have a training that pops up, I just email her and say, hey, can you open my calendar? I've already given her, I gave her certain specifications of the way that I like people to book on training
emails. I'm not to that point yet, mainly because I'm a control freak, but she has access to my email, so she can send an email from my name. She of course sends calendar invites from my name. She can do all the it's how much do you want to give to them and trust them, and it is a learning curve. So you'll find a lot of nurses, a lot of people will try it, and then they just don't think there's enough they have to give. But if you just stop to give the VA to do, but if you just stop and think about it, I've been wanting to find a way to organize my client list into a easier way to grab all the cell phone numbers. Perfect. That is a very good task for an EA to do. What access do they need? They are allowed access to like your EMR and stuff. So it's a need to know. So they're allowed to be in there to garner things if you need them to do different things. So don't be afraid of that.
They're typically a whiz with Excel and some of those other programs.
Because EAs typically have a lot of skills and a lot of the Word or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot. Hey, I need a flyer for this. I need something. I mean, not necessarily.
You can also just use them personally, right? Okay, so you need to take a load off of your own. Maybe you just are so busy personally and socially that scheduling a hair appointment, like she said, dog groomer kit. I mean, they can just kind of integrate into your personal and work life, and it's a really good outsource to get yourself. Why didn't somebody tell me this was messed up?
Because I thought it was on purpose, kind of. But they're a great resource to use. Also not an overly expensive service, especially for the quality that you're getting.
Yeah.
So outsourcing that is another good one. You know, this is kind of sounds silly, but like we do outsource. We have one of our spas actually gets cleaned.
It's so funny how we're twins. I was saying the same thing. I have mixed feelings on this. I'm like, do it your damn
too.
self. Excuse my language. However, in that particular instance, for that particular spa with those particular employees, that made the most sense, and so that's what we did for that. So, you know, it's just thinking about what things can make your life easier. Obviously, with financial stuff in mind, don't sink yourself with a cleaner, and when you can clean stuff yourself. I literally nipped it in the bud here where we're sitting at our training facility because I'm like, I will clean the bathroom every week, and all of us can pitch in because we're here every day, almost every week. Somebody is, and so we've not hired someone to clean. So it's just being mindful of like, you know,
expenses.
Don't be bougie yet. Don't be
well,
bougie.
yeah, no,
ever.
We're talking about when you have the point of which you're ready to hire or outsource. So in theory, if you're managing your money right and you're putting your money back in and you kind of manage yourself right, you do have extra. So
sure, but I'm just saying that's a bougie extra, and so it just kind of.
It says the girl who gets her house cleaned every week.
That's different.
Okay.
We're not talking about me.
So anyways, cleaning is one, that, of course, that you can outsource. So almost anything you do, if you get to that point where it's that moment when we all have that panic of like, I'm overwhelmed. Decide, is it a moment of being overwhelmed because you're working on an individual project and things are falling behind, but you know once you're done with this, things will go back to normal? Or is it like day in and day out? Like you're all day, every day, and again, not falling into the social norm of like, living, breathing, dying my business 24/7. It's like, okay, everybody calm down.
Yeah.
If you're at that point, then you're probably,
Or very simply, make a list of, go through a week, each day at the end of the day, make a list of what you did that day.
Well, or
look
just
at the
as
list
you're doing it, it's what I was going to say.
Well, yeah, or look at the list at the end of the week and be like, what are some, if I have some extra funds, what are some things that can make me either be able to take more clients and make up for those funds, become more efficient, or just, you know, sometimes make
or
my life.
to outsource and pay for it.
Make my life, well, that's what I'm saying. Figure out what things I can outsource in that stage and to make my life a little bit easier. There's
absolutely.
nothing wrong with that. Okay, so hiring. Let's say first of all, we didn't hire, like, we're a little bit different. So I think if you're opening up a med spa, you're opening up a space, or you're a mobile, you know, an independent, you know, an entrepreneur, mobile injector, whatever, and then you move to rent your space, hiring somebody is, you know, we didn't do that quickly at all. You know, our model is built a certain way that those that we work with are not our employees or anything. So, but the outsourcing stuff to the point where it's just like, for me, the hiring in a med spa is much more clinical than it is anything else. So, because you can outsource.
What do you mean by that?
Like, you can outsource the financial stuff pretty quickly without hiring an employee. Right, you like QuickBooks or an accountant that has, you can outsource your marketing stuff without having someone full-time in-house. You can outsource, anyway, those are two good ones. Let's talk marketing, financial. So let's stop there. So, but clinically, there's no outsourcing injecting. I mean, you have to. It's hire or not hire. You cannot outsource injecting. You cannot really outsource clinical resources at all. So, you know, the biggest thing that we say with when is it time to hire, that when your client list, your booking reaches 80% capacity, which figure that out on the front end. Do the math. If you're not using an appointment thing where you can actually see it, another plug-in for aesthetic record, it literally tells me each day what percentage I'm booked. And even I think it goes monthly and weekly, so then you know. But calculate that yourself. Figure out, you know, what percentage of the time your appointments are taken up or whatever as best you can. When you get around that 80% mark, that's when it's time to hire another clinician. So you do not want to wait. The point of this is you don't want to wait till you get that 100% full. And then, so it was so cute. We were speaking at a conference at Aesthetic Next a couple months ago, and someone beat-bopped her way up to me and was like, we are booked out 3 to 4 months. 3 to 4 months, it's just so exciting. It's just going so well. And I was like, do you know how many clients you're leaving on the table? Because many people are going to want 3 to 4 months, want to wait 3 to 4 months for their aesthetic appointment. It's longer than the recommended treatment time for a lot of things in between, almost longer than some Botox. And so while that's super exciting that you're doing that, you know how many clients are looking to go book with you and they just move on because there's nothing for 3 to 4 months. So when you get to 80%, you know, within a 2 2 week to 4 week, I would say, period. 2 weeks being like, if you're at 80% at every 2 weeks you look out, every time you look up 2 weeks out, it's 80% full, it's time to hire another person, because clients are going to move on and go to other places so they can get in sooner.
There's the one other thing I will say, if you are like, I don't want to hire somebody else, then of course you can stop booking new clients. Or another option is to raise your prices, which I think a lot of people like hate the thought of that, but that is a surefire way and a strategy to bring down your booking percentage.
It'll weed out some people for sure, and then you'll obviously, hopefully,
without losing revenue, right?
The idea being, you change the price at the perfect level.
And then when you fill that back up to 80%, you don't want to raise them again, but there's always that one time, either a year or whatever, that you should utilize that. It's a smart business principle to raise your prices. To, like Mary said, either not weed out, is even the wrong word.
I just meant lower your client.
Yeah, you might not get a few new clients, might not come in as fast, or like you may weed out some. But again, you shouldn't lose overall. In fact, you should gain when that principle works out well. But yeah, so you're at 80% and you're like, I need help, I need to hire. Yeah. Again, looking at your day, if you set up that admin day, it's full, and your 4 days a week are full, or whatever it is you decided to do. And you've reduced your appointments down to about as minimum as you want, and or you're just tired, you just don't want to stuff in 30 patients a day or whatever it is, whatever that looks like for you. So you're ready to hire. So do you bring them on as a contractor, or do you bring them on as an employee? Some of this depends on what is the value to you. Are you a salaried employee right at this point of your LLC?
Of your own business.
Of your own business.
Which is important. Like, that's a whole nother wormhole to go down, but you own your own business, and you're just kind of chilling as a
I mean, the basic is like, if you're an LLC, you're Mary Ford LLC. If you're taking money out of your business, so you have a business account and you're literally pulling money out to spend on something that's not the business, that's an owner's distribution, and that's taxed in a very different way than if you are filing as an LLC that's what's called an S corp, and then you can expense off an owner's, because you're a salaried employee, you can expense off an owner's distribution. It becomes a salary, which becomes an expense on your P&L, which is really important. And it's important that you get to that point, because it's going to save you a ton of money. The business is going to start paying half of the self-employment tax for like Social Security and Medicare. Like, again, another rabbit hole. But that's the next step. So once you've gotten to this point and you can support yourself on your consistent monthly salary that makes sense and you're taking it out, as soon as you are consistent, you want to try to flip over into that S corp status, because you want the business to expense off your salary. Otherwise, you're literally paying like 50% in taxes. It's insane. So at that point, then again, you should be having, people talk about know your numbers, and for some reason that drives me nuts saying that, but you do need to know at that point, to add somebody on is going to be, let's say you're going to pay them $6,000 a month. That's $72,000 a year, but you're also going to pay half of their taxes. You're going to pay about 7.5%, 7.2% of the other taxes. The business is going to pay that. So you're going to pay them the $72,000 plus the taxes that you owe. So you need to take that out and extrapolate it out and say, oh, this is the additional per month that I'm gonna owe. And it's like, that's the additional that's going to come out of my net profit, essentially, because it's not going to come out anywhere else. So if you only make $6,000 in net profit a month after you pay yourself and all your expenses, you're not ready to hire somebody at now. That being said, it's this fantastic leap of faith that I go through conversations with all of our independent injectors. You're at your cap revenue-wise, so I only make $6,000 in net profit. But if I hired somebody on and have a whole nother book of business, would that $6,000 not jump probably pretty immediately in our world?
At least to cover them. At least to cover them.
And I'm going to say and encourage you, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Because if you are established to the point that you have your book of business full, even if it's I only inject 2 days a week, whatever it is, if your book of business is full, you're established enough that if you opened up something else and, marketing, all the things, is scary as hell, you will cover that person. As long as you're not starting, if you're losing money every month and you want to add on a $100,000 employee, let's be smart.
Or worst case, maybe when you start seeing yourself being ready to hire, maybe save up a month or two of this person, what you think their salary is going to be, just to be for 3 months, just to be sure. and have a little side of coverage, and then that's another
absolutely.
just in case, because it is scary no matter how much we tell her here, listen to what she said, it's still just
it's
like
terrifying.
Oh God, I can't guarantee it. Well, nothing.
It's like the question of and I mean, we should have started with the first scenario, which was really I'm working 2 jobs. I work this job and I work my other job, and that's really the first one before you even get to a point of stagnation. It's like, when do I give up my full-time job? When do I hire myself in my business? Is really kind of the first stage, and we can circle back to it because
it's so individualized and so personal.
It is,
I mean, so there's not, there's no one answer for that. It's like that is a know your numbers and know your personal finances and know your all that stuff. But
it plays into the same principle of, if you gave up your full-time job and focused all of your time and energy,
how much would that increase your?
Like you will be. It's a standard in business that it always ends up being.
We have proved
very
it
positive
several times over now. With Smiley,
but
for sure.
What's so important to realize about that is, and I give this example to them. You have your salary at your job. Let's say you're making $100,000 a year at a job, making it up, and then your injector revenue, let's say, gets up to $50,000 a year. You're making an additional $4,000 a month, whatever it is, $4,250. Now you're at $150,000 bringing into your family. It is so important. This is my passion. I want this one to go up. Well, obviously, you got to take a big step back from where you were at that moment in order for this one to raise. And that's the scenario that just terrifies people and keeps a lot of businesses either down or
or stagnant,
or they never jump the hump.
There's always go down to PRN or part-time if it's an option, but it's
still,
if
you can do
still,
this. That's great. So back to the hiring. So you got to that point, you've realized that I can't afford this person. So do I want to do an employee or a contractor? From that perspective, it really doesn't necessarily matter. There are rules between being a contractor and being an employee. By example, if you're an employee and you're working greater than 20 hours in the state of Tennessee, you have to offer benefits if you have benefits in your company. So I think it's really important. And if they're a contractor, you do not. Contractors have other rules associated with, you can't control how much of them do you control.
You can and cannot control.
Like if you control them, you control their schedule, what they wear, everything they do.
Then
they're an employee. They're not really a contractor. But then someone, if you're listening to this, would be like, well, a travel nurse is a contractor, and they're control. Well, so again, there's a lot of labor laws, and it's pretty black and white. However, that's like that's why there's degrees in HR, because there are laws associated with this. That being said, most of us, I think, end up wanting to hire probably a employee in our scenario.
Well, I don't know. I kind of disagree. It kind of depends on what you want to do.
If you're bringing somebody else,
do you want to bring on a contractor that maybe they do one day and they're flex days and then there's like this. Do you want to rent a room to somebody to try to increase your revenue?
We're talking about hire. If we're talking about hiring, somebody. You could. So outside of renting a room,
I guess rent a room. I say let them work in a room and, as a contractor. But
I think that part of our point is there's a million ways to skin it.
I'm having deja vu.
There's a million ways to skin it, and it's like, what is the best? There's not a straight answer on what is the best thing to do financially. Having somebody on, it can be hourly or salary, as long as you are. LLC, S corp, doesn't matter what they are an expense against the business. What's important is budgeting for the moving forward with that. Like if you hire an employee full time, are you ever going to offer benefits within your practice? And if you are, you have to decide what those are going to be, and then know that you have to offer them to that employee as well. So, or all the employees. Let's say you've hired 4 people, and we have a friend who's going through this. Didn't start out with offering benefits, would love to, but now she has 50 employees, and so to add that on is an almost insurmountable expense. That is like crazy when you have the amount of employees that she has, because you have to legally offer it to everybody, and then decide how much you're going to pay, just all the things that is associated with that. And then furthermore, what benefits are you going to offer? How are you going to keep them there? You're going to offer a 401k. There's rules for 401ks and matching. If you want to offer a 401k, you have to offer at least a 3% match at a minimum. So that's another 3% plus your 401k fees every month. So it does add up. However, what you hear in HR and in hiring and firing employees is that turnover ends up costing you so much more than these things to keep them than retention. Turnover is far more costly than retention is. So obviously it starts with the right person. Do you have an interview process? It's not, my friend Susie, we've known each other a long time. Let's bring Susie on. There's a lot that goes into who, and I would recommend not hiring friends unless you really have worked
so
with them before.
Yeah, they're so perfect for the business.
Yeah, they're literally, immediately hiring family because it seems like, oh, this could never be bad. That there's a reason that people say that you don't go into business with family. That's important. And if you do hire a friend or family, that there are clear rules on the front end. And the biggest question that I always have when I want to bring a friend on, which I have a friend we're considering bringing on for a role, and we've already discussed it. If we can't, which we can, if we couldn't be professional and have a friendship and keep those separate, if you thought, well, I could see her getting mad at me. If you ever thought that, then don't hire him.
Yeah.
Automatically, it's a no, because if you even think about it, then I think it's an automatic no.
Well, it's just boundaries and contracts that are very well made and not just thrown together in a Word document. An attorney should be involved, and never take it that it's going to be okay because it's a friend or family. In fact, take it the opposite. It's going to be worse because it's a friend or family. So it needs to be a tighter bound and a tighter contract and boundaries and stuff. So
I'm all about a 30, 60, 90-day working period, which is super common even for friends and family. You need to work side by side with somebody. I hate interviews. I think I can be anybody you want me to be. In a 30-minute, hour, 2-hour, 4-hour interview, I can be a lot of different people. You just tell me what the JD needs, and I know it's scary, right? A lot of people can. But an 8-hour working day or a working interview or things of that nature, it's well worth the time and potential money to spend that time with somebody, because you're going to see it, right? You're going to see them drop a piece of trash on the floor and just not pick it up. You're going to see them do it really is. I watch people, and it's fascinating.
You're going to know if they click their nails on the table within a week.
Yeah, if they click a pen while they sit there and work, I'm out. We're out. I can't do it. My brain just can't. No, that's not true. But it really is. If you see multiple things and you're like, gosh, yeah, they were great. Gosh, but here's this A, B, C, D, E when you're processing. It's like, well,
yeah,
you've only spent a day with this person. Is this a thing? So
in summary, there's not a really good, there's no hard and fast rule on when to hire. I do think clinically the 80% rule is really important, and it's either choosing to back down on clients or, don't take on, you're not accepting new clients.
Maybe raise your prices.
And maybe doing the raise your price once, doing that, and then, but don't wait until you're, once, I think it's what I'm saying is so important, because it sounds, oh, we're booked out for so long and it's so great. And it's it's not great. There's a lot more you could be doing to make a lot more money with a very simple change, hiring somebody or another clinician or whatever. Don't wait till you're 110%.
Yeah.
The 80% rule is a really good rule.
I want to just go into, I could just get up on a soapbox and keep talking about this.
Yeah, well, we're not.
It's a fun topic for me.
So, I don't know how long we've been talking, but so that's kind of I don't know, who to hire and when to hire. We didn't really go into, really quick, esthetician versus clinician. I get this, or versus a RN injector or APRN or whatever. I do get this question a lot. It just depends on what your practice is. Are you an injectable heavy? If you're an RN injector and you own your own practice, or an APRN or a PA or whatever, and you're an injectable heavy practice and you want to add on the facials, then looking into an esthetician or whatever is great. Can you add it to your own thing? And does revenue go down or whatever? I think so. Facials are 30 or 60-minute commitments, plus the time for the client to undress and then redress. And they're supposed to be nice and steamy and feel all great about themselves. And so that's not what I was as an injector. So hiring on another provider to do something that's going outside the norm of your practice is also a good thing to consider. And then
if you're in a space where you have multiple, let's say you got a space and you have 3 rooms. Sure, piggyback off of somebody potentially to rent the room.
Yeah, well, even
to bring
not
in the clientele.
Maybe you're doing mobile facials and you do the esthetician and you're mobile. I mean, it's just the esthetician versus injector. Which one do I hire first? I mean, that is looking a little bit at numbers and who's bringing the most revenue, or what are your clients asking for the most? It's about taking care of the client too. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you have
we're pretty much on the injector,
or hire. Okay, so then it's do you hire somebody who can do it all? So estheticians are amazing. They're so skilled. They know so much about skin and facial and stuff like that. But they can't do injectables and stuff. And so it's like, then there's a question of like, you could just hire, we have several of our own Smiley business owners that have gone back to esthetician school that are nurses so that they can learn both and do both. And so there's definitely a value in someone who you can utilize in multiple ways and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But it just is kind of dependent on, there's no clear-cut answer on an esthetician versus another injector.
That we have stuck with the injector, that RN and above, because from a business perspective, there's a barrier there that is very difficult to overcome versus an esthetician. So if we're just looking at business, a lot of people can go be an esthetician. It's a lot more of a commitment to go and be a nurse and to be able to do some of those injectables, which is why they're so much more expensive and why you get you have a higher barrier entry. So automatically the market is going to be less saturated when it comes to the injectables than an esthetician. So, I mean, as far as bringing them into your practice, I don't see why you would hire, and I love estheticians, but why would you hire an esthetician?
No, they're skilled in what they do. And
no, I'm not. It's not a skill question, but from
you
a
might
business
not want to
perspective.
Maybe you don't want to do facial. I don't know.
So why would you offer facials?
I don't know many injectors. I don't want to do facials. No.
So why offer them?
Because your clients are asking.
If your clients are specifically asking you to do facials, I mean, I'd get a.
Are y'all ever gonna offer a facial? Are you ever gonna?
Like, no, my girl Susie down the street.
Start referring. Anyway,
she's, what's up?
It just depends on what you want for your practice. Some people want to offer everything.
Sure, some people like to do facials, like Mercedes. She's really good at them. She rubs my shoulders.
She hasn't done one for me yet.
It's really awesome. I know,
right? Okay, so we were supposed to at the beginning of this, same thing as always, at the end of a podcast. We're all over the place. We know we are. We're fine with it. We're not going to edit and make it any cleaner, so don't ask. Because it's just authentic and real and unedited and unfiltered, and it is what it is. With that being said, if you have a question or we talk too fast or, you just need a clarification on something, just message us. I'm Mary at SmileyAesthetics.com. She's Carla at SmileyAesthetics.com. We're both on Instagram. I'm trying to get, if you have any suggestions for what we could change her Instagram handle to, because she's C Smiley Injector, and since she's not really injecting much and she does so much of the business side of it, I want a cute little Smiley business name or something. So may not happen, but that's
Courtney's
what I want.
was so good. Court approved.
Our attorney changed hers to Court approved aesthetics, which is just adorable.
Courtney, lawyers, court. I mean, like, come on.
I think most people get it. Yeah. I'll always be Injector Smiley, the OG Injector Smiley, by the way. Okay.
Wow. Well,
you tried to steal my
did not
handle. That's Instagram, and then what we were going to do. At the beginning of every YouTube episode is make a shout out to our Patreon account, but make it to our patrons. We started that Patreon account. It's been a couple weeks ago. It's been wonderful. I love putting as much content out there as we can. The legal, business, clinical stuff, full injection videos, just everything we do. We're now trying to record, write down, and share on the Patreon. We do some free stuff, but a lot of it is on the tiered section, but it is well worth it, I think, personally, and you can just go check it out for yourself. With that being said, our Patreon shout-outs for today, we have a few because we're behind, quite a few, but Oscar M. and Callie F., Melissa N., Felisa G., Sarah M., Sophia D., Christian J., Aaron E., Jessica S., Angela G., Darla P., Anna or Anna I., and Sarah W. We're grateful for the support and for trusting us with sharing some information. So our Patreon is what? Okay, Smiley Aesthetics is our Patreon.
What are the other slides?
Yes, and then we're supposed to do a question at the end of the podcast as well for some questions that we've gotten. I'm not doing a very good job of staying organized with this, but we had a couple questions. Someone.
I mean, this is pitiful.
Not really. Okay, so we're just going to do two, a few each time. But yeah, here's a good one. What's the difference between a healthcare attorney and a Medspa specific attorney? And just these will be really quick for the record, but a healthcare attorney typically might be focused in a hospital, might be focused on a clinic, it's just general healthcare laws, regulations, and rules. A Medspa specific attorney is a healthcare attorney, but so much more specific.
Well, it's like being a physician and then bring a brain surgeon.
Or a physician and then a dermatologist. Yeah, they're a specialty. They're specialized. It's like being a nurse and being a CRNA. I specialize in anesthesia, and it's just a special in the field. And why is that important? Aren't all laws like healthcare laws the same? No, there are very specific laws surrounding med spas, and it is so important to find an attorney. If they say, "Well, I'm healthcare, so I can help you," a med spa specific attorney is what you really truly want, at the very least a healthcare attorney, but a med spa specific attorney is so important, and it's just med spa specific laws exist, and that is why it is so important to have one beyond a healthcare.
I have a thought real quick that I want to add on the hiring, if people are actually still listening. Be careful about hiring a new employee in the April, May, June months. If you are adding on your first employee, someone made that point somewhere else that we were. And just knowing that June, July, and August are slow months.
Slow months, yeah.
And not necessarily Botox and filler, which they do slow down because people are on vacation. But certainly if you have like a Scarlett, or you rely heavily on revenue from a machine like that,
lasers,
or a laser,
anything where people are avoiding the sun, it just goes down.
Drop off the face of the earth for
tip.
all intents and purposes. So just be aware of where your revenue comes in from before you say, oh, well, I make $10,000 a month on Scarlett, so I'm going to hire somebody, it'll cover it. And then June, July, and August, and September come in, and no one's doing that. So, but the other FAQ we had was, would you add a laser hair removal device or RF microneedling device first? This is a great question. We might have differing answers. I'll answer first. Personally, I think it's by what are your clients speaking to? Like ask your clients, right? Like, would you rather me get this, or would you rather me get that? I do think that that's important to get their feedback. Personally, I like laser hair removal devices because they do typically have an IPL side where they're doing other stuff like brown spots,
no,
regs.
Typically they don't.
Okay, the one we have does. We love AMP. We love our alpha. You can get a lot of different treatment options out of it. You can get a lot of treatment options out of an RF microneedling device, kind of.
Well, she already answered at the beginning. There is no right answer for this.
Yeah.
I would, if I were asked this question, but if it's your first opening your practice, do a little market research. Look around and see what other people are offering, and the price point of it and stuff. Do some market research, and then laser hair removal is probably one of the most widely known services. So there's a plug for this is easy. Marketing wise is easy. You say laser hair removal, people know what you're talking about. And then RF microneedling, also relatively easy, becoming much more popular. But you're treating two totally separate things. Yeah. My favorite device in the world right now is an RF microneedling device. It's ours. It's called a Scarlett. I absolutely am obsessed with it because the results are just everything. But it's skin tightening and toning, and and that type of thing. So it just totally depends on your clientele and what you think would work. And then I think if you're already open, and even if you have only 10 clients and you're already thinking about it, ask all 10 clients, and maybe that'll dictate kind of what put some posts out on social media. Would you rather do some cute things like that?
Gosh, do some pre-sales, offer two different options for a package. That here's my normal pricing. Here's what my normal pricing is going to be. Here's what it would be I'm trying to decide which one to buy. I'm doing 50% off. I mean, there's other considerations like consumables. By example, the Alpha doesn't have a consumable, our laser machine, so that's nice. It's 100% profit beyond the payment, obviously. It was a cheaper device than the RF microneedling device, so look at the price overall on the device. Is one cheaper than the other? The RF Scarlett has a consumable that's the needle tip, which is not much, but still. So there's a lot of factors that go into that, so there isn't a right answer to this. I say laser hair removal device that's got the IPL option that does all kinds of fun things, because I'm basically just zapping off hair everywhere because it's fun. And she loves the Scarlett, so there's not a clear answer for this, but I will say this about that. Sorry. What?
Nothing.
Well, you made a face at me. The laser hair removal device, if you look at pricing between that and RF microneedling, they're similar in pricing in terms of packages and pricing. There's some cheaper areas on laser hair.
Yeah.
Well, and there's also some ones that are similar, and I think the laser hair removal device was significantly cheaper than the Scarlett microneedling one. So that's it. I mean, financially, looking at those types of things, what does it cost? Shop around different companies. We obviously are huge fans of AMP, of Aesthetic Management Partners. We are loyal to them and love their company.
Right.
But do shop around and take your time with that choice.
Yeah.
Okay, Mary is definitely ready to stop the podcast.
Well,
so
the
like and
point of the
subscribe,
FAQ, the point of the
youtube.com.
questions is not to have a whole other podcast on them, so they're going to be short and sweet. So
They can be whatever I would like them to be.
anyways, yeah, on the YouTube, like I said, if you found this and maybe you weren't looking for it, our channel is Smiley Aesthetics on YouTube, and it's Smiley Aesthetics on Patreon. And then the best other platform for some small stuff we do and announcements is on Instagram at Injector Smiley and at C Smiley Injector. And yeah, I don't know what next week's episode will be because we forgot to talk about it, but it'll probably be great. Okay, so thanks. Done?